John 13. Well, believers in God have always been asked to love one another. This is clear throughout all the Old Testament, and so we must think very carefully about what Jesus meant here in verses 34 and 35 when he says, "A new commandment I give you, love one another, even as I have loved you. You are also to love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another." When Jesus tells us to love each other, it was a new commandment because he added that we are to love as I have loved you. And how did he love us? In dying for us on the cross, in living a life of total self-control and perfection, in loving the wretched, the poor, the hopeless sinners. And he did all that having our human nature, being one of us. So that's why it's a new commandment. This is what it is to be a Christian, to love as he loved, to think as he thought, to walk as he walked. Of course, we don't get there completely, and God is very pitiful to us though. He knows our frame, he remembers that we are dust. But the height of the call is wonderful, to love as Jesus loved. We now have an aim, a point we would love to reach, to love as Jesus loved. This is an aim which gets a grip on our whole life. No longer are we just existing day by day, doing what seems the logical way at the time, choosing what feels good. No. We now have a far higher aim, a more noble aim, and the height of the calling lifts us far up above ourselves. No longer are we just stuck in the mud, in the mire of mediocrity, wandering really in the darkness. It is this call to love as Jesus loved, which could potentially win the world for Christ, because our love for each other will present the world with a radical and startling picture of what love really and actually is. The world, of course, talks a lot about love, but they have no idea what it really is. Not just loving those who love you. In the hope you'll sort of benefit from that interaction, from that relationship, from that encounter. No, to love as Jesus loved is to give our lives for others. Jesus, having loved his own that were in the world, loved them unto the end, that he died for us on the cross. Now, we of course fail in this, but as individuals and the church as a whole, but this is our calling. This is what we are to aim toward.